This is the badging video for the Induction Forge here at MakeHaven. So an induction forge is a kind of forge, and a forge is a tool that heats metal hot enough so that you can forge it, which means hitting it so it welds to itself effectively. But what's great about this particular kind, an induction forge, is that it doesn't use gas or coal, both of which create a lot of fumes that you need to figure out how to exhaust and use safely. And they also make everything really hot. The whole room would be cooking really hot if you had a coal forge in here. An induction forge uses electricity and runs that electricity in a loop around the piece of metal that you're trying to heat up. And by doing so, by using AC current going back and forth, it induces a current into your workpiece. So it's a little bit of magic, but the idea is that by moving electricity back and forth near another piece of metal, it induces a current in that other piece of metal. And if you just have a chunk of steel or aluminum, moving current back and forth in it will heat it up, just like you had electricity running through it. It does come with a few drawbacks that you need to be aware of. So it uses coils, which we keep in here, and you need to have the coils be about the same size as your material. So that's the main drawback. You can't just have a normal forge where you put things into of any size and let them heat up and take them out. You need to make the coils the right size to fit that. That said, it heats things up incredibly quickly. So, in just a few seconds or maybe a minute, your workpiece will be hot enough to start hitting on the anvil or doing whatever it is that you're trying to do. So it's a really cool tool, and we're excited to have it to start opening up blacksmithing here at MakeHaven. So in terms of safety on this machine, it's pretty great in terms of safety. You don't have to worry about gases, as we mentioned. By and large, the main concern is just heat, and the heat is very localized. So if we were to grab, for example, this piece of steel, and we'll see this in a minute. If we heat it up here, you can probably comfortably hold it over here for a little while until the heat slowly moves over, which obviously wouldn't be the case in a normal forge. The heat is very localized to where the coils are. That said, if you're working with a piece, over time it will heat up, and you need to make sure to be wearing gloves, if you are at risk of getting burned. Dropping things on your feet, if you're using a hammer to pound on the anvil, those are things you just need to be aware of. Obviously, always eye protection. If there's a lot of sparks flying, you can wear a face shield. If the metal that you're using has any coatings on it, you need to make sure to grind those off first, because those will just catch fire or burn from the heat of the metal underneath it, and you don't want that. So make sure to grind off any coatings, galvanization, anything like that, to make sure that your workpiece is clean and you aren't breathing in those fumes. And then one very important thing in terms of the safety of the machine is that you need to make sure that the water cooler is on. So it generates a lot of internal heat, and it will cook itself if it isn't getting cooled. Down here, I'll show you in a minute more closely, is a water cooler that pumps cool water through the machine and through the coils. And you always need to make sure that when you use this machine, the water cooler is on and the valves are switched to send water to the forge. It goes both to the forge and to the TIG welder, so you need to make sure to switch it to go to the forge. All right, so we will start taking a closer look here at the machine. So this machine can heat up most kinds of metal: brass, copper, steel, stainless, aluminum, and it can even melt metals. So to do that, you get a crucible, which is a graphite or ceramic container that you would put in the coils. We don't have that set up yet, but if you wanted to get a crucible and make coils to do that, and we'll cover that shortly, then that could be a great way to melt metals. So we'll look at some coils. Here we have forge coils, and here's one of them. And so these coils are pretty simple. We'll just go over the anatomy. So there's two ends with these nuts on the ends, and the water comes in and goes through the loops and out just to keep it cool. But in general, you can touch these with your hands. They stay pretty cool. Not that I recommend that necessarily. And then the electricity also flows through that copper, goes in the loop, and then goes back. And that's what is inducing the current in the workpiece. So we will install this coil here on the machine. So the ends, we're just going to make sure that they're clean. There's no grit on there, anything that will make the connection bad. And then they just go right on here. and then these nuts tighten down on them. Just for your awareness, this machine used to be metric, and we adapted it so it now uses 1/4-inch copper fittings, these flange fittings, so you don't need to worry about metric fittings anymore. And then hanging here is a wrench, and so you can just use this wrench to tighten down on the coils so they don't leak water. And if they are leaking, you can just tighten down a little more firmly. Just get that snug. And obviously, if you had 2 hands to work with, you could do a better job of making sure that this stayed totally straight if that was important to you. All right, so we don't need to go crazy. This is just brass, so we'll break it if you go too hard. You just need to be snug. So now the coils are on there, and as I said, you can have different shaped coils depending on your workpiece. We have a few, but you're welcome to make your own coils. We have extra materials in here, and in the tool page, there will be other videos showing other YouTube videos of how to make your own coil. So here are other flare nuts and coil making tools down here. So I encourage you to try to make your own. It's really fun, and there are all kinds of cool shapes that can be made. All right, so now we'll look at the controls. Starting at the top, there's a light that'll tell you when it's heating, when it's retaining, so that's kind of when it's just holding the heat, say if you're doing a heat treatment. And then cooling is when it's cooling down. This is just the number of seconds it's been going for. And then these are timers, so if you put it in automatic mode, you can set how much time you want it to heat for, retaining, and cooling. Then down here, we have power, obviously, if it's operating, a phase fail. So if, this were to stop working for some reason, that light might be lighting up, and that could be the reason why. If it's getting over voltage or over temperature, over current, or if it's lacking water. So all of those might light up, in which case you should stop and address that situation. If it's over voltage or over current, then that's probably because the workpiece isn't well sized to your coils. And if it is over temperature, it probably just needs a minute to cool down. Water lack, we just need to make sure that the water cooler is running. So here we're in manual mode, which means start and stop would just turn the machine on and then turn it off. We also have a pedal plugged in here, and so that foot pedal means you can do the same thing just with your foot. So you can turn it on and off with your foot. Heating power is the number of amps that it's sending to the coils. So you can control where you want that to be. If you're in automatic mode and setting the retaining time, then you can also set the retain power. So you might want that to be a different number if you're tempering or something, for example. And then this is just the on-off switch. So there's not a whole lot to it. To plug it in, you just need to find the plug labeled Forge and plug that into the 240 volt outlet. So before we turn the tool on, we just need to make sure to turn the water cooler on. We first are going to make sure the levers are pointing the right way. So for the Forge, we want the levers to the right. Let's say they were over to the left for the TIG, then we would just move them back to the right for the Forge. And then flip the switch, and the water cooler's on, and it's pumping water through here. And I can actually see a little leak here. You can see water dripping. So we're just going to take the wrench and snug that up a little bit more. And there we go, no more dripping. All right, so now we can turn this on. All right, so now that it's on, we're just gonna start in manual mode. And for the output current, we're just gonna worry about heating power. And I'm gonna put it somewhere in the middle, and we'll see what that does, and then we can change it from there. For the pedal, it's not like a gas pedal or a pedal on a TIG where it can vary. It's just on off. So when you push the pedal, then it just reads out the amps it's at. So right now it's at 411 amps, and this is how long it's been going for. So here is a chunk of, it looks like stainless steel, and I'm gonna hold it at the far end, so there's no chance of the heat getting to me anytime soon. And we're gonna push the pedal. And we're gonna push the pedal and put this in here. So I'm gonna put it in kind of slowly, and you can see that it's not immediately doing anything. You can see some smoke coming off as it heats up,
But what we could do is increase the current if we wanted to, because it isn't saying that it's overcurrent. So I'm going to take this out and increase the max current a little bit. You can't tell this, but I can smell that it's heating up. Alright, so you can push the pedal again and put it in. And it can help to just start by putting in a little bit so it heats up the tip instead of having to heat up the whole thing all at once. The fiberglass around the edge is just to help protect the coils, but it's not actually necessary. So you can see this is starting to glow orange, which is pretty cool. And as a note, if these coils were tighter around this piece of metal, it would heat up faster. Or if there were more coils, it would heat up faster. But, you know, if you had a chunk of metal that was bigger and there were more coils, it couldn't provide that much power. So everything's sort of a balance here, and if you decide to make your own coils, you can play around with that. So then we can move it down the length if we want to continue heating up the length, you know, depending on what we're doing with it. And just as a note, where my hand is up here, it's still totally cold. There's no hint of warmth. So we're heating up along the length, and we're still not at the max current, and it's not saying overcurrent, so we could increase it more. But it's pretty much glowing red hot here, so we could totally, you know, wail on this on the anvil if we wanted, which is pretty cool. So over time, we'll have lots of different shaped coils, which will be useful for different kinds of knife blades and all sorts of weird shapes. But what I'll show you now is the difference between that heating and then the heating with a thinner piece of metal. So here's a much skinnier piece that is less well suited to this diameter coil. So I'll push the pedal and then put this in here. And actually that still heated up pretty darn quickly. So maybe that's not such a great example. You know, I guess this is a pretty versatile coil size, but it is less efficient. So let's say you're doing a lot of steel this or metal this size, then it would probably make sense to make smaller coils with a larger number. And here you can see that it's not really getting glowing red. It's a warm orange, but it's not getting really hot. If we had a piece of metal, you know, better size or smaller coils, it would be getting super hot. We can also increase the current here. So I'll increase the current up to, we'll go up to 811. And then we'll see if that gets it hotter. Not really, it sort of seems like it's maxing out around that color. And one other thing I'll show you is what it looks like on a piece of sheet metal to help you visualize the coils and the fields that they make. So turn it on and then put this here and we'll see that circle coming through. So you can see the shape of the heating pattern, which is pretty neat. And if you're making coils of other shapes, that can help you to visualize the fields that it's generating. So we'll look at automatic mode now. So in automatic, we would flip the switch up and then set the heating time, retaining time, and the cooling time. So heating, we could set to, 5 seconds or up to as many seconds as we wanted. You get the idea. And then retaining time, maybe for the purposes of demonstration, I'll just put it to 10 seconds. Retaining 7 seconds, and then cooling 2 seconds. And one way to set this up would be to make a set of coils that are aligned vertically instead of horizontally. So you could put things through sideways. And then if you are doing a batch of shafts or something, you could set them up so they rest in there and then just hit automatic and then it will start. So we're in automatic mode now. So I'll hit the start button and it's gonna go up to 10, and maybe I'll change the retaining current just so you can see that difference. All right, so now we're starting on the retaining and it's down at 567, and then it'll go to cooling after 7 seconds. All right, 1, 2, and then the cycle's over. And we would hit the green button again if you wanted to start again. As a note, if you're heating a piece of metal that's too big, so it's, you know, let's say it almost completely fills the circle, and it's a solid chunk of metal, then it might just click and the current will go to 0, and that means it can't supply that amount of power. So one way to address that would be to change the coils, or more easy is just to start with the tip of it and move it in slowly. Something to bear in mind when you're heating an object is something called the skin effect, which is the idea that when you're inducing a current in the material, it's heating the surface first, and then that heat is moving in towards the core. So something to bear in mind is that if you're heating a large piece, the outside might become too hot. We'll only induce a current in metals, so you don't need to worry about it inducing a current in your body unless you have any metal in your body. So if you do have any prosthetics or metal implants, then be mindful of that. The fields don't extend very far, but it's probably a good idea to maintain your distance as much as possible, you know, so it doesn't harm you. Down here we have tongs, and you can use pliers and whatever you want to help hold your material if you want to keep even more distance, or the material where you want to hold it is getting hot. Too hot for gloves. And then if you do start getting into making coils, which, you know, I hope you do, just bear in mind that coils in general should be about 2 feet long, like worth of coil in a loop. Generally you want about 3 to 5 turns. So here we have 3. And you want it to more or less fit the material that you're doing. Last, when you go to change a coil, it's important to make sure that this is off. If not, it'll just spray you with a lot of water. So first we're going to turn this machine off. Then we'll go down here and turn this off. And while we're at it, we can check the water level. And if the water level is low, just make sure to top it off. You can use the hose from the water jet. And then you could safely take these off without getting sprayed with water. There'll just be a little residual water in the coils. Here you can actually see that the water level is low in the water cooler. It's below the warning mark. So we are going to go over to the water jet and turn the valve on the wall over here. So this valve is already on, but if it's not, then you can turn it on. On is when it's pointed in line with the pipe. And then grab the hose off the wall, which I already did, and you can just pass it right over the top of this. And then use it to fill this, and it usually makes sense to put it on power wash so it just goes straight in that hole. Making a lovely sound. Alright, so now it is filled up and we're good to go here. So that's about all there is to it. This is a super cool machine that has tons of possibilities, that opens up tons of possibilities, and I hope to see lots of exciting projects that come out of this new capability. Thanks for watching.